slow, yo, because we're having us a barbecue.
A black woman living in the suburbs went viral for telling black people not to bring their ghetto behavior to suburban neighborhoods.
Don't move to the suburbs if you don't know how to act. Do not. We're good over here. We respect one another. We are building families. We don't want the riffraff over here. Okay? I notice that when the wrong type of people start to move in, you can easily spot it. And it's like, if you're coming from a different way of living, I'll put it that way, come and assimilate to what's going on over here. I am tired of the wrong type of people, and y'all know who I'm talking about, moving into neighborhoods and ruining them. It's like you don't even recognize the neighborhood. You don't. You're coming and you're blasting your music at all times of night. You're not keeping up with your property. You're giving the neighbors and the HOA problems, you know, and then when someone corrects you and checks you about it, everything's race and everything is, oh, I'm being discriminated against. They just don't want me here. Yeah, I don't either. I don't. I like my nice suburban neighborhood where I don't have to worry about if I leave my garage up too long that my belongings are going to be stolen. So when you come over here, learn how to act, get some decorum, have some manners, respect other people. And a lot of people will go and purposely bring their bad habits from their hood neighborhoods and bring it over here and expect and act like everybody else is doing something wrong when that's the whole reason why we're here. No offense. Nobody ever says, man, I can't wait to move into that predominantly black neighborhood. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some beautiful, amazing black neighborhoods in America. There are. But let's just be real. That's not the majority. It's not. Very sad. I want that to change. That's why I have a nonprofit to help these things change. But if you're moving to a better place, it's time to leave old habits. Get in line, get in order. What a concept.
Now, in this video that went viral, this black woman who lived in the suburbs wanted to tell black people who lived in the inner city not to bring their ghetto behavior and habits to suburban neighborhoods like where she lives. Now, this black woman may appear to be coming across as somewhat bougie and somewhat condescending. However, when I listen to this woman, I have to agree with her talking points, because when it comes down to some people who came from the inner city, they basically turn any neighborhood into what the late David Carroll called Blackistan. Now, when it comes down to these individuals, they basically bring their bad habits to any neighborhood that they go in, and they bring those bad habits to that neighborhood that they go in, because basically what happens with these individuals is that they have a spellbound mindset, and that spellbound mindset basically has them behaving in a way that they think is acceptable to white people. And as they look to go out here and perpetuate those stereotypes, they don't understand that as a person moves up the economic ladder, they need to change the way they behave if they hope to have a better quality of life. Now, when it comes down to these type of spellbound individuals, what they basically do is they have this mindset to think that if I move to the white person's neighborhood or the suburban neighborhood, I will be able to have a better quality of life. Unfortunately, what's keeping them from having the better quality of life is the mindsets that they have and their whole perception of self. That's the main thing that has them caught into a mindset of thinking that being ghetto is actually black. And as they have this mindset to think that being black is correlated with ghetto, they think that if they move to a white neighborhood, they will be able to improve their quality of life. Unfortunately, nothing really changes because their perception of self has them thinking that being dysfunctional is all part of being black and all part of the black experience. This is something I went in depth in my novel, Spellbound, as related to the spellbound mindset that basically keeps many black people in a dysfunctional frame of thinking where they think that going to the white person's neighborhood will make their life better, when in actuality, the thing that can make their life better is their whole perception of self and perception of where they live. Because just like I wrote about in Spellbound, when it came to the neighborhood of Sugar Hill, the neighborhood of Sugar Hill back in the early 20th century was considered to be the finest neighborhood in Harlem. It was considered to be the place where the wealthiest blacks lived and owned brownstone homes. And it was a well-kept neighborhood, and it was a well-kept neighborhood because those black people basically cared about their quality of life. And as those black people cared about their quality of life, they maintained a life up to a certain standard. And as they maintained that standard, they basically made this the crown jewel of Harlem. And that was because those black people valued themselves. They valued what they worked for, and they valued things like education. I mean, most of the people who owned those brownstones were basically Pullman porters and maids, and there were some black people who did own black businesses, who did own those brownstones, but that neighborhood of people maintained a high quality of life, even though many were working on these jobs like Pullman porter and maid and janitor. They maintained a high quality of life in that neighborhood. And that's what was sorely lacking as the years went by. And as the years went by, many of those black people, sadly, as they saw the white people building their suburbs, wanted to move out into those areas. And eventually, the only thing that was left of Sugar Hill that was shown in movies like Spike Lee's Jungle Fever was that neighborhood became a ghetto. And it became a ghetto mainly because of two things. It became a ghetto because, one, black people did not see their quality of life as being anything good. In later generations, when we look at the boomer generation, they basically did not have the same values as the silent generation and greatest generation that built that neighborhood, and they thought the white person's neighborhood was better than their neighborhood, and they wanted to move to the white person's neighborhood because they thought that neighborhood was better. And as a result, what happened was the neighborhood of Sugar Hill went into decline and eventually became a ghetto. And as it became a ghetto, that's where the spellbound mindset basically turned it into a ghetto, because they wanted to, again, be what white people wanted them to be. And what white racists wanted to see was a rundown ghetto. And again, they turned one of the finest black neighborhoods into a ghetto as related to the bad habits that they basically learned from white racism and white stereotypes. And sadly, as those people, again, were living in that neighborhood, they aspired to move to white neighborhoods. And as they looked to move to those white neighborhoods for white validation and white approval, what happened with these individuals is that some of them, once they got their money, wanted to bring their bad habits along with them to this other neighborhood. And that's what makes the quality of life really bad for individuals like that. And this is something that I've seen firsthand. Again, as a kid growing up in the South Bronx, I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods, Morrisania, at 167th Street and Park Avenue, right across the street from the Metro North Railroad tracks, in a building that was actually considered to be worse than the projects that were just down the street from me. And when it came down to the way I was raised, I was raised to think that, live a better quality of life. And I didn't want to bring those type of habits that I saw many people doing, like playing the radios loud or going out here and standing out in front of the building. No, I didn't want to do those type of things, because those type of things are the things that bring down the quality of life in a neighborhood. And a lot of people, what they do is that once they get their money, what they do that really messes them up are two things. One is thinking that I've got to move to a white person's neighborhood, but sometimes you just have to move because you got these jealous Pookie types and Sharkeisha types who, once you start making some money, they want to go out here and hurt you. And I understand why they have to move. But the thing is, when they move, what makes it worse is that they come into another person's neighborhood. And as they come into the neighborhood, they're not looking to be a part of that community. No, they want to hold on to their bad habits. And as they want to hold on to those bad habits in an effort to keep it real, what they do is go out here and make life just that much harder for everybody else who's trying to get up and go to work every day and live their lives. And this is something I saw firsthand when my family basically moved from Morrisania to Parkchester. I mean, from when I looked at this building that I'm currently in, again, it's a pretty nice neighborhood. You got pretty nice things like benches and park space. I mean, it's way better than where I used to live on 167th Street and Park Avenue, or even the building I was living in before I moved here, which was in Grand Avenue, 169th Street. I mean, when I look at this area, it's a very nice area, but sadly, what happens with this area is that you've got some grandmas who want to move their Pookie grandsons in, or move their Sharkeisha single mothers in, and they basically make the life really messed up here, because these people don't appreciate where they are, and what they do is, again, make things hard, because I've seen it firsthand where these type of folks go out here and break the security doors by we used to have a pattern of it be happening almost every weekend. And then you had folks in here playing the stereos loud. Again, really nice building, but people will, again, you bring the wrong mindset into that area, and that type of person basically destroys the quality of life for everyone. I mean, people move to areas to look like this to improve their quality of life. Unfortunately, what happens is that you get one or two black women or black families who, again, basically have arrived, and what they do is bring their Pookie and Sharkeisha relatives or to live with them, or they get a Pookie type boyfriend and have him in the building. And these folks basically bring down the quality of life for just about everyone. And as they bring down the quality of life for just about everyone, they make it where women like this basically do get frustrated, because I understand where this woman is coming from. I understand where this sister is coming from. You want to go out here and be able to live in a nice neighborhood. You want to live to a higher standard of living. You want to be able to go and live in a neighborhood where you can go out here and be able to actually relax and not be on edge like you live in the ghetto, where you basically looking over your shoulder basically every day, worrying about whether Pookie gonna jack you, or some police gonna give you a hassle, or somebody gonna do some mess. I mean, that's why people move to these other areas. They want to be able to relax at their home and not have any stress. And what gives those people stress is you coming here and bringing your dysfunctional ghetto habits into the neighborhood. I mean, there's nothing more stressful than when you're trying to go out here and, like myself, trying to make a video, and then somebody's blasting some music super loud, or you're trying to, just trying to get in your building, and there's a bunch of folks standing outside your building, or you're trying to go to the store and folks is just standing outside the store asking you for change. I mean, that's the type of hood behavior that people look to move away from, because once you get your money up, you don't want to be dealing with nonsense like that. No, once a person gets their money up and gets themselves together, they don't want to be dealing with nonsense like that. And if you are a person who went out here to get yourself an education and get yourself together, you don't want to be bringing them type of habits in other areas, because people are going to start to get alienated because they're going to see that you are stuck in a state of arrested development. And as they see you're stuck in a state of arrested development, as you so-called keep it real, they really going to start putting distance between themselves and you, because they seeing your behavior is something they don't want to deal with. Nobody really want to deal with no dude who's out here, drinking 40s outside of a nice building. I mean, in some buildings, in some areas, that's the type of stuff that'll lead to them just basically looking to evict you, because in those areas, again, they're not going to put up with that mess. And again, you just making it that much harder for the other people who went out here and worked hard to get themselves together. That's what this woman is basically explaining. I mean, the way she's coming across may seem a little condescending to some folks, but to me, I understand where this woman is coming from. I understand where this woman is coming from. Me being a guy who came from the worst parts of the South Bronx, I understand, as someone who worked to try to get himself to a better place. If I go to a better place and I'm trying to improve myself, I need to go out here and look to try to, again, make myself be presentable and respectable and respect the community that I'm a part of. That's what I understand that you have to do, because once you get your money up, once you start to get yourself together, once you start to get yourself established, what you want to do is, if you want to, again, move to a place where you can have that higher quality of life. And again, you can still have that, you could have had that quality of life in your own inner city, but sadly, when it comes down to a lot of us, we can't stay in those areas because Pookie and Sharkeisha will try to hurt us. And the thing is that they make it harder for other people who look to move on. Because when we move on, the whole thing is that we have people like these black women, they'll go get their Pookie type boyfriend. And I've seen this right here in this area, bringing their Rottweilers and their Pit Bulls. And again, the type of ghetto stuff out here, trying to play that type of street type of stuff. I mean, that's when you move to a higher level area, that stuff is supposed to be left in the hood. It's not supposed to come to a nicer neighborhood. And again, I saw this right here in Parkchester. See guys, again, pulling that type of stuff. And a lot of them don't really last too long, because eventually people get tired of that type of stuff in areas like this. And people just basically, they will get rid of you. And that's the other thing that a lot of folks need to understand. Again, in areas where people have money, they don't put up with ghetto behavior. Now, people will put up with that in the Section 8 buildings because those people want to get that Section 8 government cash. But in neighborhoods where they have money, they don't put up with that type of stuff. And that's why a lot of folks who do move to these areas, what they do is they start changing their behavior. They start changing their behavior because they know that if you want to stay in an area like this, you have to improve your whole demeanor and sense of behavior. That's what you have to do, because people want a certain quality of life. Again, if people are paying a premium price for where they're living, they want to live to a higher standard. And the saddest part about all those ghetto black folks, as this woman calls it, they could live to the same quality of life if they had their mind right. Because like I said in Spellbound, again, Sugar Hill was considered the crown jewel of Harlem. Unfortunately, people had a fucked up mindset, and they basically turned that neighborhood into a hellhole in the late 1980s. And I talk all about that in Spellbound, as Mrs. Purvis tells Matilda, this was, life in Sugar Hill was a sweet neighborhood, but it was destroyed by people who had this ghetto mindset of, again, thinking their neighborhood was inferior. And as they thought their neighborhood was inferior, they turned it into a ghetto because they thought that this is what white people would want to see. And as they thought that, they thought moving to the white person's neighborhood would make their lives better. But they could have made their lives better by going out here and maintaining the standards that their ancestors established. Because Sugar Hill, again, I'll repeat it for a third time, was the crown jewel of Harlem. This was where the wealthiest black people lived. This is where the highest quality of life was. And it was that way because black people had their minds right. And when it comes to a lot of us black folks, we have to stop equating ghetto with black, because when it comes down to suburban white people, they don't equate being in the trailer park as real. No, they don't see the guy who's in the trailer park as being having the same quality of life as they do. And when it comes to them, when they see the person with the trailer park mindset, they don't let them come into their neighborhood and have a whole bunch of cars in their yard or a whole bunch of garbage in their yard. No, they have rules for those white people. And if those white people can't follow those rules, those white people are shown the door, just like they show the black people who basically participate in the same ghetto behavior. Because when it comes down to folks want to live when they move themselves up economically, they want to live a higher quality of life. And that's where I look at this video of this black woman who went viral. Yeah, you can say that this woman is bougie, you can say this woman is condescending, but you can't say that she is wrong. Nope, can't say that she's wrong in any way, shape, or form, because when it comes to a lot of these new type black folks, I mean, I've seen it firsthand just living around here. Again, when it comes to a lot of them, they want to bring this type of behavior into an area, and it just makes it just that much harder for the working class black folks to be able to have a quality of life, and for those working class black folks to even be able to come into neighborhoods and be a part of a larger community. Now, if you want to learn more about the spellbound mindset and how it impedes black people's progress, you can pick up my novel, Spellbound, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Spellbound at other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about the black community and black issues, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.